somewhere on this team is a player who broke the league goal scoring record. Now I'm just gonna show you the stars and I want you to tell me which one it is. Was it you? No, not you. It's you. That's right. The player with 1.5 stars actually broke the record for goals scored in a season in this league. And in this video, I'll tell you how we made that happen. First off, you don't believe me, we go to history, records, where is it? Somewhere. Most goals by a player in a season. Nick McCootie, Taunton Town, 45 goals, and that's Nick McCootie. This is very clear evidence that you can't trust stars in Football Manager. They are an excellent guide, particularly in higher leagues, to try and point you in the right direction, but they're not supposed to be trusted. And the way the game is designed, you should not trust them. That's because if you go into staff and responsibilities and then go to advice and reports, you will actually see who provides your player reports on player ability in the first place. It's right here on provides player reports, and if you click a drop down, you actually have to make a decision between who's going to actually come up with the opinion. And if you're wondering what I'm saying by opinion, if you click on a player and you go to their current ability, that opinion is coming from somebody. In this case, my assistant coach, Matthew Rose. It is not an objective thing generated by the game. Now, the issue herein is that Matthew Rose is only a 9/9 in judging player ability and potential. Now, when it comes to my staff, considering we are in the freaking 6th tier of England, just got promoted to the 6th tier, baby. Dump the water. If you want to watch craziness like that, of course, you can follow the Twitch stream down in the description. We are now in the 5th tier. Let's go. He's the best guy on my team for this, but he's still not very good, of course, because attributes are in a range of 1 to 20. But 9/9's not the worst thing in the world, so you can't entirely discount the fact that he's rating Nick McCootie as 1.5 stars, while his fellow strike partners Hamzat Kargbo are 4 stars and Harvey Bradbury's 3 stars, respectively. But before we get into actually how he did it, there's one more thing that you do need to know, because you might have noticed this. If you're perceptive, give yourself a pat on the back. He's 2 stars on this page, but he's 1.5 stars on this page. Why, Zealand? Excellent question. Very, very well done. So the 1.5 stars is based off of his role. It's not a particularly complicated explanation, but this is Matthew Rose's perception on his ability relative to the team in his role. Like if I take Hamzat Kargbo and play him as a false 9, he's actually a 1/2 star according to Matthew Rose, but as a target forward on attack, Hamzat Kargbo is 4 stars. But now let's actually look at Nick McCootie. Even for the 6th tier, 5 first touch is tough. 5 balance is also tough. But he has things that I found important for the system that we play. And so why did we stick with him, and why were we rewarded so handsomely for doing so? To the tune of 74 goals and 88 appearances over 2 league seasons. This is because I have invested so much time into this game that I have an intuitive understanding of what my tactic needs. This is the tactic I used to get promoted from the 6th division to the 5th division. I have a whole video about it. I'll link it up there, so I'm not going to dive too far into what we need here. But on this front line, I knew I needed 3 things: size, general athleticism, and working your butt off. And if we look at Nick McCootie, he provides me with all 3 of those things at an above average level for the division we're playing at. And if you ever have a question about that sort of stuff, click through the other players that you are competing against. Particularly going down top scorer lists is helpful. You might not have exact information, but you can see that Nick McCootie is tall and athletic compared to Stephen Payne. I'll be honest, Danny Mills is just a god for this level, but we beat him in the playoff finals, so McCootie is taller and more athletic than this guy. He also works a lot harder. He got 7 work rate compared to 13 work rate on Nick McCootie. Look, you're gonna be bad at some things. The 5 first touch, not great. 5 composure, not great. But he works hard, he's tall, and he's athletic. And we have a tactic that is going to attempt to take advantage of that, that's extremely direct, that requires players to work hard, be tall, and be athletic. And Nick McCootie is those things relative to his peers. But that is also true for Hamzat Kargbo, who is tall, athletic, and runs hard. He got 12 off the ball here. And Harvey Bradbury, who is tall, athletic enough, definitely strong, and works hard. But there is a crucial final difference that made me select Nick McCootie as the center forward who would be the focal point of this offense and be able to produce so consistently in 1v1 situations. Seriously, this is a compilation of some of the goals he scored over the course of this season, and his ability to finish in 1-2 touch situations is astounding, and finish in front of a goal that most forwards they struggle with. How often are you throwing your freaking mouse out the window because your forward shanks another 1v1? Well, Nick McCootie has a sneaky last addition that makes him a surefire bet to score a good amount of goals, and that is his player trait. I'm not talking about attempts overhead kicks. That is hopeful he's never scored one of those, or that would have started this video. No, I'm talking about shoots with power, which is something that favors people with a natural bit of finishing, which Nick McCootie has, but they don't have the composure to take their time and pick their spot. This is an easy way to make players that have natural finishing and no composure very good goal scorers. Clearly, it was very effective with McCootie, and as you see in that compilation, a lot of his goals were scored with exceptional power. He puts his head down, naturally picks a side, and hits the ball as hard as possible. He's not the only one of my forwards that has a trait, but Harvey Bradbury's trait is place his shots. Considering he only has 9 technique, 10 finishing, and 10 composure, that is a very hard player trait for him to be able to execute consistently. Or a player trait that utilizes a lack of composure and technique is something that is more fitting in the lower leagues. So now you're watching this thinking, I'm gonna go find my own diamond in the rough like Nick McCootie to go and get me promoted. I mean, he literally did get us promoted. Oh, it's Nick McCootie! But hold on, before you button up and get ready to rocket ship out of here, there's one more thing you need to know. Even with all of those things, he can catch a bad vein of form or have such bad hidden mental attributes that it really doesn't matter. Because there's one thing that you cannot escape, and that is the eye test. You see, Nick McCootie was on this team when I took over, and we were projected to finish 23rd out of 24 in the 6th division. He scored 29 goals in the first season, but he had some limitations. He really struggled in big matches, and he's not much of anything other than a pure goal scorer. He can't help in facilitation, and he gets tired pretty easily. That's because his work rate's so high, but his stamina's not great. I was honestly not sure if he should fit in our team, which we upgraded significantly on the front line, adding Bradbury and adding Cargbo, if we should replace McCootie as well. He had a good season, but we can find better out there. But he had scored so many goals for me that I wanted to give him another opportunity to see if he could be as prolific or maybe even better with better players around him. I give him a run of games for the first month, and in the first match, he scores a hat trick. 2 matches later, he's on the score sheet again. Next match, 2 Nick McCootie goals. The match after that, 2 more Nick McCootie goals. Now, obviously, with a forward, it is very obvious on the eye test, but this is just something I can look at right on the box scores here. With midfielders and defenders, it can also be obvious. Don't let you lie to your own eyes. You see whether a player is good or not. You see whether they're making an appropriate difference. And to me, it was obvious in this first month of the season that all my thoughts of maybe replacing Nick McCootie were unfounded. We won 4 of 5 matches, and he was a big part of it. So we just saddled up and rode Sir Nick McCootie all the way to a promotion season and 45 goals. But never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined he would be such a sterling example of why you cannot trust stars. A little thing to tack on here at the end, subscribe to the channel. Gotcha. That wasn't the actual thing. I slipped something in earlier in the video I wanted to make sure you understood. Stars are relative to your team. You might already know this, didn't want to waste your time with it earlier, but stars are relative to the rest of your team. They used to have wording attached to it. I honestly can't find anywhere where that wording is attached to it anymore, but essentially this is like bad to useful to average to above average to God. It is entirely relative to your team, with 2.5 stars being considered the average. And as you might have surmised, the better your team is, the more you can trust the stars, because your assistant coaches are going to provide better opinions, but you should always be the final say. Because even though Harry Warwick is a higher star rating at this position, I am guaranteeing you right now, this guy's lack of size, work rate, and a finishing trait would have made him score a lot less goals this season. I know, because he appeared in 39 games and scored 12 goals. Now, I love this guy. He's the captain of the club, and we wouldn't have gotten promoted without him either, but the role was smaller, and he couldn't have done what McCootie did, even though his star rating was higher. Use this, go armed with knowledge to go watch this video of me describing how this tactic plays. You might have clicked on it earlier, but if you didn't, it's right there. And we're done here, so you might as well.